Welcome, everyone. This meeting of the Centennial School District School Board is called to order as of 6:31 p.m. on June 5th, 2024, and a quorum is present. Welcome. It's so great to have such a large room here for us today. We've got some exciting things with school presentations and Super C Awards, and I'm really excited to get to all of that. But first, we'll go ahead and approve the agenda.
Approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
The agenda will move forward as presented. All right, so introduction of guests. Before we get into the Triple C Award, I just want to take a minute and thank our student representatives. It has been It's been really fabulous having you here. It's been great to have both of you. What you've brought to our board meetings with just the excitement of what's happening in the high school combined with updates and, you know, the fun little videos, it has just been a real positive addition to our meetings. So Marisol, we're super excited for you graduating. And Lashme, we're super excited to have you back next year. So this is from all of us at the board. Would anyone else like to take a moment to say anything before we move on? Yeah. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have the Triple C Award recognition. And at this point, it looks like, am I turning it over to Cassie?
You can turn it over to me and I
will
turn it over to you.
Cassie.
Sounds good.
Superintendent Owens.
Great, thank you. So Cassie has a little bit of a introduction here, and so I don't want to steal any of the thunder from her introduction. But I will say that Triple C is a longstanding honor for Centennial employees. And so we have a couple of recognees this evening, and we have some folks here to cheer them on. So it's great to see so many people here. It was the first time in a long time, maybe 5 years, that we had to pull out the extra chairs. So that's a nice feeling to have a packed house. I'll go ahead and turn it over to our interim Chief Communications Officer, who has returned to join us. You might remember Cassie Swenson, and she's going to introduce our people being recognized tonight. That's what happens. That's how this works. And while we're waiting, we also have Park Lane Elementary in the house. Good showing for our final school report for the year. Oh, right, we were supposed to get jokes ready for awkward silence. And that's perfect.
I'm going to stand. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. It's an honor to present tonight the Triple C Award recipients for 2024. Each year, Centennial presents Triple C Awards to honor employees who set a high standard for others through their caring, commitment, and/or creativity, who make a difference every day. These awards serve as a way to show our community the positive efforts put forth by employees who go above and beyond the scope of their positions. Without further ado, this year's recipients include Lawrence Baldwin, a special education teacher. A special education teacher at Centennial Middle School, and Sonia Nelsa Carranza. Administrator of EL and federal programs. Both individuals were nominated by their colleagues as exemplary employees of the highest caliber who work every day to support Centennial in being the best it can be. And I'm going to have Lawrence Baldwin join me up here. So first, I'd like to congratulate Lawrence Baldwin, who has been with the Centennial School District for 22 years. And just so you know, there are fans of both these recipients on Zoom, so just know there is more in the audience here, including some of your nominators. So Lawrence's nominators describe him as patient, kind, dedicated, collaborative, and someone who is always positive, even in challenging times. One of Lawrence's nominators shared, "Lawrence is kind and one of the most caring and patient teachers I've had the privilege to work with. He is constantly making connections with kids and meeting them where they are with a positive attitude and an earnest belief in their abilities." Another added, "Lawrence is the person we all go to when we need help thinking through challenging situations. When we have new staff members, Lawrence is usually the person assigned to teach them. He always comes at problems through the lens of what will best support the student involved. He is endlessly patient, even when answering a question he had been asked many, many times, so the learner feels safe to ask questions." Additionally, one nominator shared, "Lawrence is the most dedicated employee I've ever met. He establishes relationships with families on his caseload before the school year even starts. He's been in the district so long that he now serves students in special education whose parents were on his caseload 20 plus years ago. These families and parents, have nothing but glowing comments and fond memories of having Mr. Baldwin as a teacher, even all those years ago when he was a new teacher. And now, I'd like to open up the opportunity for those that nominated Lawrence to come up and join Lawrence and I to share a few words about why they nominated him for this special award."
Hey everybody, my name is Ian Parks and I'm a learning specialist at Centennial Middle School. I've known Lawrence for quite a while. I've been in the district. I'm finishing up my 15th year. I moved down to Centennial Middle School. This is my 3rd year there. And right out of the gate, I knew that Lawrence was someone that I could go to for questions that I needed. The role that I filled at Centennial Middle School was quite different than what I was doing previously. And I could always go to Lawrence for questions, even if I had to ask that question more than once, you know. Always just has plenty of advice to offer. And then as a teacher, one of the things that I can say about Lawrence is that he holds his students capable and able, and that's something that I really, really appreciate about him. He meets his students where they're at, and he's been really a good mentor for me in my career. And I can go down to his room and, vent a little, and then he'll be like, "Hey, you know what? Maybe it's not worth getting so worked up about it because after all, locus of control, right?" And so, he's really grounding in that regard, and he keeps, he keeps me wanting to come back to work. It's always nice when you get to work with people that you care about, and you can see the difference they make every day. So Lawrence, I really do appreciate all you do for our students and what you do for your colleagues. So thank you very much. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, Ian. We have 2 members that nominated you that are joining us virtually. We have Danny Miller. If we could promote her to panelist. Is she there? Okay, so Danny can go ahead and share. And if you're muted, just make sure to unmute too.
We're working on some tech issues.
Just a moment. If the volume's up, we could put the mic on her computer.
I can do this.
Danny, just a moment. We're getting some tech support. We want to make sure that we can hear you.
All right, thank you.
We're going to try to do that through the computer. We've got the volume as high up as we can over here. So let's try it. And let's hope we don't
Did I say something again?
Good.
Go ahead. You're ready.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So, in my letter, I mentioned that we jokingly call Lawrence our department chair, which we don't really have a department chair, and Lawrence is the last person in the world who would insist on a leadership position anywhere. And in fact, getting an award is awkward for Lawrence. And yet, he is so worthy of our respect and our support because of the support he gives us, the support he gives our students. I don't want it to get lost in the mix that he's a brilliant teacher. He can connect with any student. And part of it is his belief in the students, and part of it is he's got such a gentle and great sense of humor that students actually enjoy going to his class, which is excellent. I'm the one that mentioned his ability to answer the same question 500 times because I'm always, if I'm confused, I go to Lawrence and he can straighten me out. And like Ian, when there's difficult situations, Lawrence is the one I want to talk it through with, because I know he's not going to lose sight of what's important in our jobs. He's not going to lose sight of the dignity of the students that we're talking about. He's just all around an amazing, exemplary educator.
Thank you, Danny. Next, virtually, that's joining us. Technology is fun. Megan Connolly. Is Megan
Yes,
with us?
can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Well, lots of great things have already been said about Lawrence. I honestly cannot believe he has not won this every year. He's really been in Centennial a very long time. He has a lot of knowledge about the way special education has been in Centennial. He has ideas for the future. I was the one that mentioned he, not only do his students love him so much, he cares about them so deeply. He will go to their games on the weekends. He just went to a student's football game, and his, like I said, I've been in many, many meetings with him and have had parents sit at the table and say, I remember having you as a teacher, Mr. Baldwin. And they still call him Mr. Baldwin, which is so great. And I mean, it's evident that they're like, you're the best. And they just have all these great memories about him. And that was back when he was, probably in his 20s and a new educator. And so for him to already be remembered that way at such a young age it speaks volumes to his character. He's just the most dedicated employee and is the most deserving of this award. Congratulations.
In addition to our nominators, we have Principal Buck, who's welcome to come up and share a few words as well. Everyone likes to be in the spotlight, right?
Of course. Thank you, Cassie. I have had the pleasure of working with Lawrence over the past 5 years since I joined Centennial Middle School. And Lawrence, you stood out immediately as someone who clearly has a heart for our kids and always puts our kids first, which I greatly appreciate. I believe it was Ian that said, you always hold our kids capable. You always know that our kids can and will succeed with the right support. And that is what I honor the most about you, is always keeping the kids at full front in all of our work that we do, and believe that all of our students can succeed, and you're always right next to them to help them support. So appreciate you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to all who shared about Lawrence's impact in his role. And now I'd like to offer Lawrence the opportunity to speak about the receipt of this award if he'd like to. And then we will then present Lawrence with the Triple C Award.
Thank you. All right, and how much time do I have? 20 minutes? Wrap it up. So first I want to thank the school board, for this recognition, and also the Owls, all Owls, past and present, and that's our team, our special education team name, and all of the coworkers who nominated me as well. And also congratulations to Sonia on your receiving of this award as well. This award allows me to show gratitude for my families. And my first family is my family. And I have to start with, where do we always start? With mom. My mom, Celia Mae Baldwin, is a single parent, a deaf woman. She was an educator for over 40 years. She was a middle school math teacher, a principal, dean of students, most of which was at California School for the Deaf. And her dedication to a school community is ingrained within me. Always will be. I wish she could be here now. She just got back from a trip, though. And so I also want to take this opportunity to thank Jennifer, my wife, for just being her caring and commitment as a partner. Without Jen, I'm simply just not here at this moment. So thank you, Jen. And then also, my sons, Theo and Nolan Baldwin, who couldn't be here tonight. It's my son's, Nolan's, baseball banquet awards night tonight, so he's off getting his award. But my sons take care of business in the classroom, on the wrestling mat, and on the baseball diamond, and hard work pays off. So I share this award with them, too. And then my middle school family. I went to a recent retirement celebration, and I have to say their names because they should be celebrated as well. For Elizabeth Rufy, Vicki Nelson, Valentina Wint, Renee Pollard, Ann Crawford, and Kathy DeRozed. I looked around the room at this celebration. I saw all the past Centennial Middle School workers, teachers, principals, and it really felt like a family reunion to me. And so celebrating with them just gave me the overwhelming feeling of community and family at Centennial Middle School. So to all the learning specialists at CMS, administrators, classroom teachers, educational assistants, records managers, secretaries, counselors at CMS, I'm shaking here, I share this award with you as well. And then finally, I really hope I've earned this in the eyes of the families and students I work with. That's the most important to me, and that's why I show up every day. So thank you.
All right, Lawrence. Okay, so next we're going to present you the award. I'm going to take a picture of you, and then I'm going to invite Lawrence's family and colleagues to join us for the second photo. We're going to do it up at the front, so we're going to be a little adaptable here. You're going to watch how adaptable we are here. So just a moment. Okay, next I'd like to congratulate our other Triple C Award recipient, Sonia Nelson Carranza. Sonia has also been with us a long time, since 2001. Sonia's nominators described her as someone who demonstrates respect, integrity, compassion, and intelligence, and is a true leader with a commitment to the entire Centennial School District community. Here are some of what her nominators had to say about Sonia. Sonia has an ability to hear a multitude of perspectives and keep the student and family interest at the heart of her work. She inspires her colleagues to do more and be more for our community. She doesn't shy away from speaking truth and following her moral compass to promote educational excellence. Another nominator shared, Sonia's proactive stance in fostering improvement led us to reassess and enhance our services for students, guided by a steadfast commitment to equity. Through our guidance, our department embraced an equity lens, challenging us to recognize and address disparities in educational outcomes. Sonia's passion for equity not only transformed our department's practices, but also enriched our understanding of how to better serve our diverse student population. Additionally, one of her nominators stated, Sonia is one of the most compassionate people I've ever met, and she refuses to give up on students, even in the most challenging of circumstances. An expert in her field, Sonia impels all teachers to collaborate and share their learning so we all can benefit. I've been so lucky to work alongside her for all these years, and I can't emphasize enough what a positive influence and pivotal role she has played in our district throughout her career. And now I'd like to open up the opportunity for those that nominated Sonia to share a few words about why they nominated her for this special award.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mary Shortino. And when I was thinking about what I was going to say about Sonia, I was given the restriction of 2 minutes. I was just like, I don't know, that's short a little bit of time. So I decided to give you a list of words that I feel describe Sonia and that I've heard other people use to describe Sonia. So caring, committed, inspiring, tireless, collaborative, respectful, enthusiastic, intelligent, generous, devoted, determined, capable, solutions-oriented, compassionate, a learner, a leader, unwavering, appreciative, consistent, an advocate, proactive, passionate, inspiring, integrity, values, perspectives, grace, positive, impactful, steadfast, dedicated, uplifting, grounded, and curious. And I just decided to stop there because the list was getting long. But from working with Sonia over these last few years, what it comes down to is Sonia is an excellent person. She is an intelligent person, and she inspires everyone around her to strive for more and to be the best person they can be and do the best that we can and strive for more with our children here in the school district. You're welcome.
My name is Laura Valent, and it's been an honor to have Sonia as my supervisor in this first year that I've spent here at Centennial. And in my 15 years of working in schools, I've worked with amazing leaders in education, but Sonia stands out among them in her commitment to improving outcomes for our most vulnerable students. Her leadership encourages others to be leaders. She is humble, caring, dedicated, and all the other adjectives that Mary just shared. No job is too big or too small. Whether we're setting up for or cleaning up a room for one of our presentations or trainings, or she's writing a federal grant, Sonia professionally and gracefully engages in the work. I appreciate this quality so much in a leader. It takes an exceptional human being to respect every aspect that goes into any position that we have in schools, much less in a position that carries so much responsibility. In short, Sonia is a leader to aspire to. And thank you.
We got another nominator coming up.
Good evening, everyone. Mo Callahan, Director of Curriculum Student Learning. Sonia, this is my privilege to be part of this presentation tonight. I just so appreciate working next to you, leading with you, and learning with you. There are so many exceptional assets that we heard this evening. And as I reread the application that lots of different people had provided inputs into, I started thinking about the themes coming out around students. And so many people shared similar themes and some unique themes. And I think what I wanted to do this evening is uplift those voices related to how people see your work directly relating to student learning. So one comment that came through, let me see my notes here, your commitment to students reference, that was about, my writing right, 8 times. So in some form or fashion, people reference that. Do anything to help students. There were about 6 references to that. Keep students at the heart. 3. Unwavering belief in students. Also 3 times mentioned. Passion, inspiration, enthusiasm, creative, throughout, at least 10 times plus. So many times. Thank you for showing up every day, being the best you that you can be, and serving our students.
Thank you to all who shared about Sonia's impact in her role at Centennial School District. And now I'd like to offer Sonia the opportunity to speak about the receipt of this award if she'd like to. And we will then present Sonia with the Triple C Award.
Thank you. And Lawrence, like you, this makes me really uncomfortable. And I look around here and like these are people that I grew up with, like Laura and Shane and Lawrence and Nicole and Ian even. I mean, like we've lived in Centennial for a really long time, and Centennial is my home. I didn't necessarily go to school here, but I definitely grew up here. I appreciate you bringing in family, and like I was like, should I invite my mom? Is this something you invite people to? Is it not? And like, my mom's my person, right? To tell you a little bit about my mom immigrated from Mexico by herself at the age of 17 and went to go live with an aunt without knowing a lick of English. And she met my father. They later got married, and one of the things that my dad used to tell me was, I really admire your mom's work ethic, because she might lose a job and the next day she had a new job. She was out there, she was working, and she was bringing in and contributing to the family. And that's one of the things that both my parents, they instilled in me, is really that hard work ethic. And to do something that you love means that you're not gonna work. And my dad, I remember him always saying that. I was working before this job, and when I say this job, I've had 7 jobs in Centennial. For those of you that aren't aware, I started as an educational assistant. I did a long-term sub position. I taught 6th grade, then I taught ELD, then I was the dean of students at Centennial Middle, and then I was assistant principal at Centennial Middle, and now in this current position. I was in this position and I felt like I had no purpose. I was working in a PR company, and I was maybe a year out of college, and I was looking at the Oregonian, and I remember circling these 2 job descriptions, and they were for the EA position in Centennial. I said, I've got this job. I quit. I came and interviewed. I didn't get the position. But they hired me. They called me back a couple weeks later, maybe a month or 2 later, and said, we want you to come back and interview. and that's the position I got. I keep looking for that newspaper. I had it framed at one point, and so I hope that someday it comes up in my house and I can bring it back. But it's amazing. A person that we know used to say, "The choices you make today shape the world tomorrow." And I want to say those little steps that you take every day have a big impact in how your life turns out. I have been privileged to work with all these people around who I look at your faces and you're all friends. And so thank you. I appreciate this honor. And I love Centennial. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Now the time has come. You get your award. So. All right, let's give a round of applause for this year's Triple C Award recipients. We appreciate all that you both do to show care, commitment, and creativity as valued staff members of Centennial School District. And I will get a picture of the two of you out in the hall real quickly before you all leave. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Cassie. Congratulations to our Triple C Award winners. At this point, before we move on to the next thing, if y'all would like to stay, you are welcome to stay. Soon we'll be doing the Park Lane report, and that will be pretty exciting, but it's all downhill after there. So feel free to get up. I mean, policy's great, right? Excuse me. So if at any point you feel like you would like to get up and leave, please feel free, but you're welcome to stay for as long as you'd like. And I'll give a minute for everything to settle, for the dust to settle. Pink sweatshirt, his wife, my cousin. Her mom and my dad, brother and sister. Real cousins. Don't want to look any nepotism, so I didn't want to. Right? Before we get on actually to the exciting things with Park Lane, there's a few things on here. We have an approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from May 22nd?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Excellent. And nothing for public forum. Thank you very much. All right, next up we have our student report. Would you ladies like to take it away?
It's loading. Oh. Wait, it's not working. And it's stuck on that thing. Too slow. Oh, it's so slow. Uh-oh. Isn't working.
Okay, there you go. Okay, well, this is one of our last, or this is our last student board or presentation of the year until next year. And next year, Marshall is gone, unfortunately. You want to do this one? Or no? Okay. So up next, right now, we have our spring sports achievements. As you can see, a lot of our track team actually placed in state, which is a great accomplishment for Centennial High School, and we actually have a state champion in our district. We also have the NWAC Boys Tennis Coach of the Year, Mr. Johnson. He's a great player. You'll see him in a bit. He played in our Eagle Fest twice. So, and then Brandon Vu is a boys tennis player, placed 5th in OSAA state for tennis. So congratulations to them because they played really hard.
Last week was our Eagle Fest. This was super fun. Like our whole school loved it, I'd like to say. We started the whole week with a whole spirit week that was very well participated. If you see on the upper right, you can see Lashmi with her tacky Taurus outfit, right? Yeah. And then we have our powder puff game, which was on Friday. Seniors won, of course.
If you see the score, it was actually really bad. So it's okay. We got one more year. It's okay.
And we also had our our powder tough game, which is our boys volleyball game. Seniors also won against juniors, but then we couldn't beat the staff. But anyways, and then our basketball game, staff once again beat us, unfortunately.
And then for the basketball team, we actually had one of our board members playing it. He was great. He's a baller. But yeah, our staff was very victorious, and they have been for a couple of years now. So students need to step it up. I don't know what else to say.
Prom was super fun. We had so many people dressed up. How did you get that picture of us? Okay. Yeah, prom was super fun. And yeah, it was very successful. Our court. And yeah. Oh, can I say something about the venue? Okay, this venue this year was really good because it gave a chance for like people who don't want to dance. They had an outside area, and then there was like a separate room where like they could like have snacks or drinks, and then there was a dance floor. So like I feel like it was like the perfect venue for a school dance, and yeah, it was just very nice.
And then I do have a question. When you guys did go to prom, did you have like a full course dinner? Because a lot of students are complaining that we didn't have a full meal for them. And I'm like, That's what I'm saying.
No.
And then you have hors d'oeuvres and drinks.
Yes, the dinner is a date before prom. Prom does not include dinner. Tell them to simmer down.
Yeah, we're low on the budget. So.
Ooh, we had our senior prank day this Friday. Yes, it was super fun. We put our school up for sale. Nobody wanted to buy it. But we did some bad parking, which was super fun. We had the band follow Mr. Miller around. He looked really happy about it, though. And then we had... we had a giant inflatable football thing going on. Students were actually really respectful about that, so yeah. Oh, graduations is on Wednesday. And here's some more on senior prank day. There was some hula. Wait, no, not the hula. That's limbo. There was some limbo dancing. It's like taking forever to load. This is awkward. Okay, there was some limbo dancing, and then today we went to Oaks Park, and it was really fun considering we got that taken away our 8th grade year due to COVID. Getting that back was super fun. You know, we really enjoyed it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, that is it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I wanted to say the basketball game was super fun. Thanks for having me. I hope I get invited back next year. I think I had more assists than turnovers. But I also heard you guys shortened the quarters, and I was about to die. So if you guys want to have a chance of winning, maybe buff the quarters back up and just, come back at the end when the adults are gassed. So, thanks again.
Thank you both so much for your service, and look forward to seeing you next year, and look forward to you getting to not see you, and you're going to go on to do wonderful things. But you're always welcome back. You know how they say, once an eagle, always an eagle. Anything else? All right. Next up, we've got Park Lane. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Superintendent Owens.
All
to do
right,
an
we've got
introduction.
Park Lane Elementary in the house this evening. We've got Principal Mari Scottagiri and Assistant Principal Jane Harrington, who will be speaking on behalf of the school. And you can see Park Lane staff here as well, taking time out of their day, even though they've worked all day. They've made the time to be here this evening as well to support the school and the work that's happening. So I'm excited to have Mari and Jane feature the things that are happening at Park Lane. I'll go ahead and turn it over to them. You can stand, and if you want a handheld mic.
Oh, yes. I get one every day in the cafeteria. Thank you. Okay. Well, we're Park Lane Elementary, and we're glad to be able to speak to the board and the public, and they get to see what things we're doing this year. Jane's going to start this out because she's been here all year, and I haven't.
So the first bit is who we are. Park Lane is an extremely diverse community, and what we value about our students is that we want them to come to school every day and have fun. And so we have an array of different photos. We have our unicorn tea party in the top right corner where our second graders did a fairy tale and every class wrote one, and they had this huge celebration and were able to read their stories to everyone. It was so sweet. We have our talent show, our fun run, some stuff that happened at a field trip up in the top corner, and then also some of our REAP field trips. Some of these we will talk more about later on. So we're going to start with our SIP goals. We had two main goals that we focused on this year at Park Lane. One was around academics and one was around a sense of belonging in SEL. Our first one for academics was really focused on student talk. And what we wanted was that going into every classroom, we wanted to be able to see that students were engaging in discourse and student-to-student conversations with some language supports added in. And so our goal was that when we walked into classes, students were talking to each other, and it wasn't just the adult in the room who was leading that discussion, that students were taking more ownership of their learning. We also had a goal around SEL and belonging, and in order to measure this goal, we used the student perception survey that we gave 3 times. We gave a shortened version in fall and in winter, and then the full survey this spring, where we had given it last spring as well. And our goal was to be able to see at least 85% of our students at Park Lane responding positively to a select set of questions that really focused around safety and belonging. And with our 2 SIP goals, we didn't make as much growth as we would have liked to. We do have rubrics in there that are put in there. For SEL to create a rubric, we actually asked our students, what do you want to see here at Park Lane? And it was really powerful to be able to hear what every single student at each grade level had to say. But our SIP goals, one of the biggest challenges was that we actually didn't have SIP goals that were set in place. Or we did have some, but we changed them and we didn't bring them in until January. And so they haven't been in place very long. And because of that, it's been a huge challenge to be able to measure and see as much growth as we would have liked to. To measure belonging was also a challenge because to just look at a survey doesn't really show what's happening in the classroom every single day. And the survey only was done for 3rd through 5th grade students. So it left out half of our kiddos. And so moving forward for next year, we would really like to try and implement in some empathy interviews and find a way to connect to all of our students, K through 5, to really be able to foster that sense of belonging. I will say that in our survey saw a pretty significant dip this spring, and we had some really significant challenges that Mari will speak to later for why we believe we saw such a huge dip in our student perception and their sense of belonging and just feeling like school was a happy place. For our goal on academics around student talk, we saw some growth, but what we want to do is we want to build on that momentum for next year, and we really want to be able to have student-to-student talk structures that are presented in professional developments. So every month focus on a student talk structure so that we are pulling from, hey, this class did it so awesome today. Take a video of students doing the conversation, showing it to staff, making sure that staff feels confident in their abilities, working through it as a staff so they can bring it forward to all of their classes and really boost up that discourse between our students. And we also want to make sure that we are doing more walkthroughs. We didn't get as many walkthroughs this year because our rubric was created later. And so moving forward, we really want to make sure that we're doing more walkthroughs in classrooms, giving our teachers more on-demand feedback so they can take that feedback, take it back to their classrooms, and really be there to best serve our students. So we did link in the Data Summit packet. We're not going to look through the data, but if you want to later, it's there. For our student survey data, like I said, it did see a dip. It did not increase. We did have some really bright spots in there, but overall it did see a decrease where we wanted it to increase, which was unfortunate. For our attendance data doesn't look fantastic right now. We do have a Tier 1 committee that is working and focusing on attendance, and they revamped our tardy policy as well as working on daily attendance plans where we're looking at how many students are here every day. And then this classroom that has the most, they had a celebration that took place that happened in the month of May. And we saw an increase in our number of students who were attending. And the classrooms that won those awards were so excited and had so much pride in that they won this award because they were showing up to school and it made them want to come to school. And so we will continue with that momentum moving forward and next year with that attendance committee. For academic-wise, for math, we had a pretty big strength that our math, we have 41% of our students are at or above grade level or at benchmark in math. That was an 8% increase from the beginning of the year to now. So our students started at 33% and now we're at 41%. So we're really proud of that, and part of that is we had a Tier 1 math committee that would meet every 2 weeks, and they really were talking about math instruction, digging into that new curriculum that we have, and really trying to make sure that we are best serving our students. We also saw a increase in our reading. Our reading went up 4%, so we have 36% of our students are at or above benchmark as well. So those were some of our strengths, and our next steps is taking this momentum that we have and looking at our SIP plan, making sure that we are including these pieces and these bright spots that we have and really building it up so that we can best serve our students for next year. Now I'm going to turn over to Mari.
One of our strengths this year has been parent and community partners and the involvement. And we've always been a Sun school, and we're still associated with MFS. And the picture on the right shows them out with some of our kids shopping for Christmas presents. We have REAP at our school, and they serve our students well, and they offer a whole variety of supports from mediations and break times, and they do field trips. The picture on the left is them on a bunch of students on a REAP field trip. Our PTO has been incredibly supportive with their fund run. And with that, we're going to hear about field trips because we've had a lot of them this year, and they're mostly funded by the PTO. We've got Trillium Family Services and Multnomah County Mental Health supporting our students in their mental health, and they do a fabulous job, and they're absolutely necessary supports that we have in our schools. We need that support and those partnerships in order to be able to offer the help that our students and families need. The Shadow Project has helped with sensory room space, and this is something that works with our students that receive student services, and so we appreciate that. The Latino Network has been connected to Park Lane for a long time, and they support students and families. We have lots of parent volunteers. We couldn't do all the field trips without them. And then Oregon Ballet Theater is an unusual one that is at Park Lane. Our kindergartners attended a couple performances this year, and Oregon Ballet Theater taught ballet to all of our kindergartners this year. And I've got to say, I mean, this is Heather Simon now, that this is why we have Oregon Ballet Theater, and her name will come up again, one of our kindergarten teachers. We've had culturally specific celebrations. We had a concert for Black History Month, and our music teacher, Nicola Lampy, is the one that put this together. You see her on the stage. She sings with some of the members of this band in other settings. And then we had our PTO gave us an Ali Ole concert and dance performance that brought music and dance from Mexico and Spain, and even connected it to where some of the music came from Morocco and the Moorish area. So, but we've had some challenges this year. When I came on, I was the third principal in 5 months, and that's challenging for a school. Everyone can be functioning in top form, but they've had to face different expectations from all of us. We've had some turnover in our special education staff. A huge one was we had the death of a second grade student, and TR died April 19th, and the next week we did our student belonging survey, and it wasn't a happy place. And when we had that happening, not all of our positions were filled until January, but we did get them all filled. And these kind of things start making a difference. You start feeling like you're functioning and you're moving forward. And we're coming off a construction year. One of the things I'm going to say, we love our new gym, but there were some challenges getting there, kind of thing. Here we do have pictures of our kids enjoying all sorts of different things. We've got kids at a performance of The Lightning Thief at the Oregon Trail and to the Oregon Trail Museum. We've got a few pictures of TR because we still love him, and other kids just enjoying school. As I said earlier, family engagement has been good this year. Our carnival, which was before I came, but it was very well attended. It was our welcome back to school, our welcome back event. We had a glow dance in February. It's the first time we've ever done it, but families asked if we would do it like once a month. We have not. We haven't pulled that off. We had a talent show. This was put on by Nicola, and it was wonderful. Especially a kid talent show is so much fun. And we had good attendance from parents, and then we showed the whole school the next day. Instructionally, our teacher, one of our Tier 1 teams, teachers led our math walkthroughs. They came up with what we should be looking for in the new math curriculum, and they've gone out and they've showcased a few lessons, which put them in a very vulnerable place, opened up the classrooms, and they really want to master this and do the best possible for our students. We had PLC half days, which many people do, but I mean, I was at Centennial High School and I've been at Centennial Middle School. The teachers at Park Lane do PLCs really, really well. They dive into the data, they place kids, this is an acronym that we use in education, but WIN groups, what I need, and make sure they're getting instruction and intervention at the level that they need. And they do a great job with it, and this is some of how we've also been able to make progress. Other things to celebrate. I should say staff are really, really happy that Diana Mitchell was hired as the next principal. People bring that up all the time, just randomly. Like, we're really happy Diana's going to be the next principal. They're really happy with the new gym. And I said we had lots of field trips this year. And there's a learning curve to like re-enter into doing field trips. Like, how are we going to pay for this? What budget? How do we get it charged, or POs or whatever? I mean, there's all the busing. It's a challenge, and we get, like, every time they pull it off and we get to do it, but sometimes we have moments of fear in the middle of it. But kids have been to OMSI, Oregon Children's Theater. They went to Oregon Ballet Theater twice in kindergarten, the end of the Oregon Trail Museum, Leach Botanical Gardens, the Pumpkin Patch. 2 different grade levels have gone to Imagination Station right next to Reynolds High School. The Oregon Zoo, once again, 2 different grade levels. Oaks Park, our very brave 5th grade teachers are taking the 5th graders there on Monday. They're also taking the students to Verdell, Burdine, Rutherford Park. And today, our kindergartners marched in the Junior Rose Parade, and they won for best theme. First place. We've got the teachers up, the kindergarten teachers above, and all of our kindergartners below. We didn't lose anyone. Yay. We had first graders at OMSI earlier this year. So I think, but next steps, like Jane was talking about, as Ms. Harrington was talking about, under the leadership team this summer, there's things that we already know we're going to use, or not we, but they're going to use in order to continue moving forward. We did work with the MESD. They have an equity team, and they did empathy interviews with every staff member. And it took a while, but we got some qualitative data from all of these empathy interviews, because it takes a long time, because we have like a lot of staff members. I can't remember if it's 63 or 75, but there's a lot of people to interview. The equity audit has really good information from 22-23 during the strategic planning process, and they'll layer these over and figure out what are the most important things to work on first. And we're a responsive classroom school, and teachers seriously implement this. They believe in it, and they want to do it well. And every year, as part of being a responsive classroom school, they come and walk through and tell us what they see, like where you're doing well at implementing it and what you need to work on, or where you can grow. So we've got that data. And then they'll be looking at academic data, and they'll be able to set focused priorities for next year, because we're not going to be able to do everything that all of these reports say in one year, but set some focused priorities in order to move forward. And here we just have kids having fun at school. They have various awards and other things that they are having fun at school. And that's what we have, but thank you very much. And do you have any questions for us?
Thank you very much. Would you like to introduce your staff?
I skipped that entirely. I'm Mari Scottageary, and I'm the interim principal at Park Lane. And I'm going to introduce, I've got Lisa Myers, and she's a 5th grade teacher, and she's part of our attendance team. And Stephanie Ogan, 5th grade teacher, and also part of our attendance team. Nicola Lampy, who's our music teacher. And and does all sorts of things. The talent show, CRT, which is our computer resource teacher, attendance team. Oh, everybody's attendance team, yeah. They've been making a difference. And then we've got Heather Simoneau, who is a kindergarten teacher and on our leadership team and takes kids to field trips everywhere, everywhere, and teaches everybody else how to do field trips. So.
Thank you very much. Are there anything from the board? I would like to say one thing, and that is just, it's a kudos to your staff. As someone, I work in a nonprofit. I also have gone through multiple program directors, executive directors, and when there's that much turnover in leadership, when it just, and the school continues to shine, it speaks to the quality of work that the entire school staff are putting together, and you're stepping in, filling holes. You're a whole team, bless you, you're young. And like, I remember those days, but no, it just goes to speak that like, you guys are really doing some quality work, and it shows that you're stepping in and filling in those gaps that happen, and I'm just excited to see where you'll be able to get with some consistent leadership. So, great work, Park Lane. Please.
Principal turnover is the worst. Schools will stay open and they will function. Teachers will work really, really hard, and I'm sure that you are and that you do. I can tell. But it's really difficult when the expectations are changing every couple of months or weeks or whatever. So I'm really excited to hear next year's report from you all, just because I know what a highly functioning school from leadership down is capable of, and I see the cusp of where it can go. So I'm excited to hear that report back. And thank you for filling in and doing that. So I'm just excited, and I really want to talk to you about ballet. So just call me. Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Or student reps have anything they want to offer? Not to put you on the spot.
You can just say no.
Okay. I have a few things I wanted to offer. Number one, when we put the parameters together for what a school report would look like over the summer, we defined a little bit of what we wanted to see, and we also left it pretty open, so it can be customized and not really regimented. And I would just say you nailed it in terms of the presentation. Very authentic. I don't know if I saw a script there, but it's evident that you know the school really well. And the strengths of the school and the areas where there's opportunities for growth as well. So I thought it was just really well presented. The leadership instability was spoken to and acknowledged in the report as well. And I think Chair Solowski said it well, just the fact that there is a core group of committed staff in the school who care deeply about the continuity of the work that they're doing, showed up in the listening sessions that we conducted when we were going through the principal hiring process, and were just evident, at the times that I drop into the school as well. I also, and this wasn't necessarily, I think it was touched on maybe briefly in the report, but as we know, there was a comprehensive boundary transition that took place in the last couple of years with Oliver transitioning into a middle school. Park Lane went from one of our smallest, if not our smallest elementary school, to our second biggest overnight. And they absorbed many of the students from the Oliver catchment, and then also with Patrick Lynch as well. So the school staff size and student size grew overnight. And when you couple that with some leadership instability, it makes for a bit of a rocky road. And I just acknowledge the grace with which the staff has embraced that change and has worked through some of the struggles that have been there. I appreciate the acknowledgement in the report of the strengths and challenges. I mean, it seemed very open and transparent where there's opportunities for growth. I really appreciate the dedication to providing opportunities for students that they wouldn't necessarily have. All the field trips were mentioned. A field trip, you just don't show up and get on the bus and go. There's so much coordination that takes place to do that, and it also takes the initiative of the educators that are putting them together to do all of that work. So I just want to acknowledge and appreciate the additional efforts that it takes to provide those opportunities and experiences for kids. And the last thing I'll say is I go into each school each month, and normally I walk into a few classrooms with the principal, and then we go back and just kind of debrief what we saw. And consistently, when I walk through Park Lane classrooms, I see instruction that's on point and intentional. And so that's just a testament, like we talked about, there's leadership instability, but there's a lot of initiative by the staff, regardless of that, to be able to provide solid instruction for students. So like was said, I just am looking forward to when Diana takes over and having leadership consistency there to see what the staff is capable of doing going forward. So thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, we'll take a short break. Let's come back in about 10 minutes. That'll give Park Lane an opportunity to do some photo shoots out there, our student reps to, take off. And then we'll come back in 10 minutes and do the really fun stuff.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
All right. The meeting is now back in order at 7:48. Next up, we have the superintendent's report.
Greetings, board members. It's my pleasure and privilege to share with you this update about happenings in our district. Last time we met, I had a 45-slide year-end report, and this one is going to be shorter. June marks LGBTQ2 SIA Plus Pride Month, a time dedicated to acknowledging the historical milestones and efforts toward achieving equal justice for individuals who identify as LGBTQ+. This month, we recognize our commitment to fostering safe and inclusive environments for Centennial students, staff, families, and the community. In support of our LGBTQ2 SIA+ staff and students, we've made significant strides on efforts as a result of the district's Oregon Department of Education Student Success Plan grant. This year's highlights include increased materials and inclusive welcoming signage for buildings, co-hosting a cross-district summit, and I know Director of Student Services Denise Wright was heavily involved in that coordination, introduction of identity-based library materials, hosting staff affinity space, and the addition of 2 temporary social workers. In development is parent and caregiver support guide, expansion of in-district resource guide, additional library and health materials, and clearer bullying, harassment, and intimidation reporting processes. As we continue to focus on inclusivity and support for all members of our community, we look forward to further progress and collaboration in the ongoing journey towards equality and acceptance. Juneteenth is a significant day of recognition, restoration, and celebration. Also known as Freedom Day, it commemorates June 19th, 1865, when the last enslaved people in America were freed, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. In today's board packet, you will find requests for approval of identifying this as a paid holiday for staff who would normally work on that day. In honor of Juneteenth, all Centennial schools and office buildings will be closed and operations will resume the next day on June 20th. As was referenced in the student report, it's recognition and graduation season, so you'll see that as a theme in this evening's update. As a brief reminder, Centennial High School and Centennial Virtual Academy have their graduation next Wednesday, June 12th at 7 p.m. If you are attending, please plan to arrive an hour early at 6 for staging and rehearsal. You may also want to pad in a little bit of extra travel time as traffic can be heavy and unpredictable, as Director Harden might know, in the Rose Quarter area. If you haven't already done so, please be sure to get your graduation and parking tickets from Missy before you leave this evening. And to our seniors, I want to offer my congratulations for their various accomplishments, academic and otherwise. While we're on the theme of graduations, the Centennial Transition Center, or CTC graduation, will be occurring this Friday, June 7th from 1:30 to 3 p.m. at Centennial Transition Center, located at 2632 Southeast 162nd, close to the intersection of 162nd Division. As a brief reminder, the CTC serves students with individualized education plans, or IEPs, who have graduated with alternate diplomas. The purpose of the program is to support young adults in their transition to life after high school. The key focus of CTC is to help young adults build independence and quality of life, with an emphasis on preparing students for independent living, employment, and linking them to appropriate community and adult services. This year, I believe there are 8 graduates who will be recognized, and board members are invited to attend, and I look forward to seeing some of you there. You can see pictures here on the screen of a previous ceremony. Last night, I had the privilege of attending the Senior Awards program at Centennial High School to recognize seniors who were receiving honor cords, scholarships, and awards. A highlight of the evening were the 8 valedictorians who each got to share their honored educator, one teacher, and their K-12 experience that made a particular impact. And particularly impressive was the 3 of these 8 valedictorians selected the same teacher as their honored educator, none other than Adrienne Harden, wife of Board Director Jess Harden, who was also on hand for the celebration. Continuing along the theme of graduations and celebrations, last week the district hosted a retirement celebration at Persimmon Country Club for staff who are retiring this year. I want to thank this year's retirees for their time and dedication to the success of students over the years, as well as directors Andrews, Stanley, and Harden for attending. We wish our retiring staff the very best in their retirement. Finally, as we approach summer, I want to give you a sneak preview of some of the facilities work that will be happening. As you will recall, the 23-24 school year kicked off the inaugural year of the Classroom Improvement Fund. And you'll recall the Board and Budget Committee approved the creation of this fund to support the maintenance of all classrooms and the complete updating or improvement of 4 to 5 learning spaces where our students spend the most of their time each summer. To date, the fund is supporting wall repair and painting of all classrooms in the district, with OMS and CHS largely completed and the rest of schools scheduled this summer. So that'll be fantastic to see painted classrooms across the district. Full remodel and updates will begin with classrooms that score lower on a facilities evaluation scale. For summer of '24, we've identified learning spaces at Patrick Lynch Elementary to be the first that are remodeled with these funds. Those include the music room, which is used by every student, as well as all 4 3rd and 4th grade classrooms. We look forward to students and staff benefiting from these improvements when they return to these spaces in September and for many years to come. And on a final note, as we enter the final week of the school year, I wanted to express appreciation for the work of our students, staff, and families and community as we have navigated through this school year. This year felt both more normal than in many years and also new as we initiated our new strategic plan. So thank you to the board for your steady hand and thoughtful consideration as we've worked together to lead our school district. And this concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Owens. Next up, we have our confirmation items. I would love to hear a motion.
Motion to approve confirmation items as listed.
Seconded.
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Confirmation items have passed. Moving on to board action items, it appears that there is nothing for us in old business today. We have quite a few things in new business. Excuse me. So let's go ahead and get that started. I'm going to turn it back over to Superintendent Owens.
All right, I'm going to be flanked by Director Southerton and Director Wright here for this. So I have had individual conversations with board members, but we haven't talked as a collective about the possibility of a donation from the Hetherington Foundation. You will have seen in board book the consideration of acceptance of a donation from the Hetherington Foundation of a substantial amount, $500,000. The purpose of those funds is intended to be the development of a family resource center. And part of the requirements of the Hetherington Foundation is 50% allocated for early childhood intervention. What was included in board book was the board note that has the plan. Board requirements are that the administration must seek board approval of any donation over $10,000 and that donation be accompanied by a plan that meets the policy requirements. So the board note that you see has the various components. And I believe I'm still screen sharing and don't necessarily need to be doing that. So let me back off of that. So board book, you can see those components. What you'll also see in board book are the original proposal that we had put together for the Hetherington Foundation, the response that they provided, as well as the policy, just so you have immediate reference to the policy that I'm referencing as well. I will go ahead and turn it over to Director Wright and Director Southerton, who helped craft that proposal to speak a little bit about the nuance of what you see in there. So if you don't mind giving a little bit of additional context beyond what they might see or to reinforce what they might see in board book, that would be appreciated.
Good evening, board members. Good evening. It's going back and forth. Good evening, board members. Hopefully everyone can hear us. I also want to share appreciation for Kendra Hughes. Great. For Kendra Hughes, who was here earlier, because she also helped to put input and craft the proposal that we put in. Many of you might remember, as a part of facilities planning and as a part of our strategic plan work that happened last year, that the need for resources in our community is significant and substantial. And ideas around a family resource center came out of some of those works. And so thinking about an opportunity, how do we capitalize and bring more mental health services? How do we think about other basic needs and services that are provided by potentially some of our partners, but how do we bring that into more of a centralized location? And so from that information, both from facilities planning and strategic planning, that's where kind of the idea around the family resource came to be.
Great. Yeah, and so we have this initial donation amount. It's unknown whether there will be additional donations in subsequent years, and that's something that I intend to try to work to see if this is an initial seed money, and then if there will be money provided in perpetuity, because the answer to that question will help determine how we proceed, because sustainable funding, as you know, can be used in a lot different ways than one-time funding, and so that'll affect our choice making with that. To that end, I have a meeting coming up next week with Gladstone Superintendent Bob Stewart, who's retiring this year, but he has worked for years with the Hetherington Foundation and has received grants from the foundation in their district, and have some ideas about what sorts of things we might be able to do with the funding. I also was able to go out around winter break to see the Family Resource Center that Gladstone School District has. It's pretty well developed, and so it was nice to see a model for what that could look like for us. And then you might wonder how we kind of got connected here with the Hetherington Foundation. Last year, Director Lynn and I were at the Centennial Place Apartments ribbon cutting, and I was connected with one of the philanthropists who helped fund that project, and we got to talking, and he started helping me think big about what possibilities might be. And so I had the opportunity to meet with him and have lunch over the summer, along with Bob Stewart, the Gladstone superintendent that I referenced, and we started talking about what ideas could look like, and was encouraged to submit an application. So that's what we've done here. So I wanted to provide that context for the board's considerations, and I imagine that you might have some ideas about what you see here, and we welcome your direction in terms of how we might want to direct those funds. And then you'll see what the plan that we've initially developed here for your consideration. So I'll leave it with that and turn it back to Chair Selewski.
Thank you very much. We'll go around the horn and just kind of do a quick check-in to see if folks have questions or thoughts. And I'm going to go ahead and start over here with Director Lynn.
Well, I'm kind of interested to hear what other people think. I'm happy with the development. Have confidence in the administration to move forward prudently. And I think Superintendent Owens already alluded to, making sure that we're not putting money where we can't sustain programs. So I'm very excited to kind of hear where that's going to go, where we might leverage other money as well. There's a lot of Portland Clean Energy Fund money being leveraged and matched with other funds. So very happy to hear about that as well. So I'm excited to hear more.
Thank you. Director Stanley.
Green light, green light, green light. Proven track record, the foundation, the Gladstone facility is remarkable. And early childhood is that building block that leads to the third grade building block that leads to the eighth grade building block that leads to graduation. So I think it's past time to think big, but maintain that ability to put the money where it needs to be. I think big things are possible and necessary and needed, particularly as the community has shifted and changed over the last 15 years. So I am very much in support of the project and would like to continue to get more updates and ways that I can further support this. Particularly for me, the early childhood learning is a big important piece of, well, everything that I do. Yeah.
Thank you. Director Hard?
Yes, I think that obviously this fills a very large need that we have in our community. And so that is absolutely fantastic. One question I had was if I'm thinking about how we've had bond funds for our facilities. So in future bonds, could we, would that jeopardize these finances at all? If we were in the future, say it is a repeated funding source, additional funding source for us, if we had bond funds with it, would that minimize the donation? Would that affect the monies?
Let me take an initial run at this. When I had, and I keep referencing Gladstone Superintendent Bob Stewart because he's more accessible to me and has more advice than Jeff Hetherington, who's busy, with his other things that he works on. So that's more of the source of where I get updates about how the foundation works. One thing that he let me know in advance was that the Hetherington Foundation normally doesn't fund capital expenses. They will help with recurring costs and some of the staffing elements, but normally don't provide the infrastructure expenses. So what you see with the letter that was provided is a one-page donation, which is pretty open-ended, but that amount of money isn't going to help quite get us there in terms of the facility needs. I know one of the things that we talked about in the pre-bond planning in 2019 through the long-range facility planning in subsequent conversations has been the addition of a freestanding location in the annex of Centennial High School, for example. I know there have been some different ideas about what that could look like and some uses for that. So that could be a possibility down the line. I'll let Paul fill in the details about kind of some of the thoughts around that. But then we also know that we have some vacant office spaces or grocery spaces that have existed in the district. And in Gladstone, what they did is I think they took an old Thriftway and then the adjacent locations that were next to it and retrofitted that for that purpose. And so there's some different ideas that we've kind of floated around for what that could look like. And all of that's to say is that a future bond could potentially provide some of the infrastructure support to help with what this grant fund could help support staffing and program-wise, if that makes sense. I'll let Director Southerton and Director Wright kind of fill in some of that.
Yeah, I think Superintendent Owens hit it spot on. They would blend together very nicely because bonds are the capital improvements. They can't be used for operational costs. They can't be used for ongoing staffing expenses and things like that. And yet we understand that in order to get a program like this off the ground, you need to have space that's made for that program, so supporting the student needs, supporting the mission of the work that's going on there. So I think it's a great opportunity to partner with, whether that be capital grants or other things that's going on. I don't know that the Portland Clean Energy Fund is a source of funds, but it may be, and we'd be happy to explore that. So, and then getting the ongoing support from, possibly getting the ongoing support from the Hetherington Foundation if we were to be able to get that off the ground. I think there's a great opportunity to also scale this over time, right? And so we have some aspects, some schools, some buildings that we currently operate and own that may not be completely full at capacity, and we could potentially get something off the ground and prove it as a model and learn it and scale over time as additional capital funds became available, or if the board decided at some point in time to consider using, other sources of funds or something like that, or other grants came along. So long answer to a short question, but I think they complement each other very well, and they would not be mutually exclusive in my mind, having a bond or be negative impact at all to a future bond.
Thank you. That's great.
I'm going to focus on E, all the costs of the project. We're already in a deficit situation. I want to know if we accept the 500,000, what it really ties us into. Because if we can't do what's written, does the money have to go back? So I want to talk about the fact that we're already in a deficit. Scalable, I like that word. And so that would have to be talked about within the structure. You've mentioned two laudable goals, mental health and the early childhood. Are we allowed to focus just on one and not the other in a scalable, because if that's the way we could scale this thing? We've got declining enrollments. That means less money's even going to come in the next year, potentially. So I don't want to accept money that I can't, say that we're going to be able to utilize in the way that this foundation would direct us to do. And since it's not going to deal with infrastructure, that means we have to come up with the hard costs at the get-go. And I don't know the track record of this foundation in terms of how long it's been around. And they can promise all they want, but we're going to end up with, when I look at E, and you look at the continual costs, the capital investment let alone, but let's just talk about staffing at $100,000+ a year in a deficit environment. Everything that we've talked about is a laudable thing, right? You want all of these things for our students and our community, but we also have to be fiscally responsible. So I'm wary of accepting the money unless I understood a little bit more about what the expectations would be, and if we have to pay it back, where would that money come from if we've already invested in it? So I have a lot of concerns, especially when, as we're talking here, we've talked about the early childhood support, but it's the mental health services that's the big dollar amount that's sitting here. So if we could, in that scalable way, if we could separate and focus on the early childhood portion of it, and if that was acceptable to the foundation to accept the money in that way, I would feel more comfortable, because those dollars that you've indicated here look more scalable and something that we could potentially absorb within our current facility, considering declining enrollment and considering the deficit budget, and then scale up to the others. But I don't know what this foundation's going to do, and I don't know if what their caveats are. So I don't mean to be negative Nancy here, but I'm being negative Nancy here.
No, I think that's fair and prudent. What I would offer is, based on the letter and the check the donation that was made, it is a donation. It's not a grant necessarily. It doesn't have an IGA or a grant or another contractual aspect to it, right? It's remarkably simple or straightforward, and that there's a letter, and we'd like to make this donation towards, the Centennial Family Foundation that you proposed, and we just require that at least half of it be used for early childhood intervention, right, per the letter. And so it doesn't say what the resource center needs to look like. Obviously, we pitched that. We know that they didn't fully fund it, so I don't think there's an expectation that, okay, we're going to take care of the remaining $2.5 million of the initial startup and do this whole thing. I think the intent of the letter, as I read, is use this as you said you would use this, and make sure that at least half is going towards early childhood intervention. So I don't see a corresponding requirement to do more or add any dollars. I don't see a matching requirement. I don't see needing to stand up the whole program. There is no contractual paperwork that's been provided or required or anything like that. So I see this as low risk in that sense completely, and just a big win for our community. I mean, this is the largest donation that I could find on file, short of the Jacobson endowment. And so I think it was wonderful that they wanted to support us in this way. Hopeful that it would be ongoing, and I think it could make a big impact, on early childhood literacy and learning and interventions, and so partnering with the other funds that are going on in Oregon right now. So we saw the state come along with the early literacy grants. We've seen additional funding for summer programming and other things. I think there's a way to really pair this together and just exponentially, kind of increase, or maybe not exponentially, but to greatly increase, the amount of good work that the teams can do, the staff can do. So feel free to clean up anything.
My follow-up would be, we've proposed in our current budget, support for grant writing. Is this a logical place then, as seeing this as seed money for something maybe, that a grant writer could be? We could help the grant writers shift their viewpoint towards supporting the things that we've already said we need or would like to see, that we wrote in the proposal. Is that, and I guess that's scalable. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud, so I'm sorry, I'm kind of a little all over the place there.
Absolutely. If we choose to fill that position, I know we're in an exploratory phase right now, right? And it's a 0.2 FTE position. But the intention, I believe, behind that was to go out and to seek additional funding sources for core and complementary programming that we're already doing that would serve our students in our community, and also coordinate our efforts, right? Because there's a lot of efforts going on and there's not a strong coordination right now. A lot of good activity and a lot of great stuff, good work that's going on. And, with some coordination and direction, I think it could, only enhance and improve that. So yes, I think that's an opportunity for it. And I think we're going to go into that grant coordinator position with our eyes open, do our research, make sure it's highly effective and a good use of funds. So I wouldn't be suggesting as the business manager that we use this to increase the time for that position or anything like that, right? But certainly they could, if it were filled, coordinate this with the early literacy, with the other programs that we're doing as well. So.
Director Shields, I also was going to address the sticker shock you had around the mental health services that we provided. So as Superintendent Owen said, one of the messages to us was to dream big. And so when we think about the needs of our community and we think about any one life that could be lost, there's no cost that we can put on that. And so being able to provide services within our district that decrease that from ever happening is significant. And when we think about what mental health services could look like, this was a snapshot of what we could capture, and this didn't necessarily show some of the behind the scenes of if we're billing for Medicaid to offset some of those things, if we are partnering with some of our existing partners and they're able to expand some of those services too. So we really wanted to give the Hetherington Foundation a snapshot of what it could look like financially, and some of that would be offset by some of the costs that we have already within our budgets as well.
Yep. Got it. I think that's good. I've always questioned though, and this is just I just question it. Where do, our noses start and end in terms of what we need to do for our community and our students? And what then is the responsibility of the city, the county, et cetera? And any kind of partnerships that relate to that is, where we want to be and what we want to do. But sometimes I think we get into this, the dream big part, I get it, but I also think we're a school district. Our goal is to, and function in reality is to educate our students. We know though that mental health has gotten to be such a big situation and concern that, how do you balance those? I sometimes wonder that we try to take care of maybe too much. Maybe this is an important thing to take care of because of the impact it has, not only just on the student, but on the family as well. But I think we have to think about that. Otherwise, I'll use the word creep, just things will creep out, and then we become responsible, or an idea that they think that we're responsible for it, when frankly, we may not be, and we should be pressing other places, taxable places, to support us or to partner with us. And they come up with the lion's share, and then we support, right, through space and things of that nature. But when I look at ongoing staffing, that's something we have to seriously consider. And that in the world that we're heading into, because we're looking at school districts who are laying off staff in staggering numbers. And I don't want to be that district. And we could be, not for any fault of our own, just because of the circumstances with enrollment, et cetera. So I want us to be super cautious and make sure we're meeting our primary needs and our primary goals as we should, and by law we should. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and.
Yes, and. Goodbye, don't and.
I am truly excited by this opportunity given to us by the Hetherington Foundation. I think that in an ideal world, there are lots of community partners that step up and help our families, and we're not seeing that. And so I think that where we can create equal opportunity for our students to get some of these services would be just tremendous. You know, there was something that you said earlier, temp social workers. Are we only employing them for a certain period of time? Or does that mean that they're like, can you elaborate? Because I think that my understanding was that the social workers that we hired were going to be full-time staff.
We have 3 social workers that are full-time and 2 additional that were temporary for the grant. Director Wright can speak a little bit more to that.
That's correct. And additionally, we've had 2 social work interns this year as well. So we're really trying to capitalize on thinking about where are those partnerships, where are those opportunities that we can benefit our district. But the temporary social workers will end at the end of this grant period.
Thank you. I just, that hit, and I was like, well, I wonder if this is where we can then, you know, determine if some of those things have been valuable. Can we continue on in that vein as well? But I think that what's promising is that it is a gift, a donation, and there's not a lot of like expectations on how we spend that money, where those buckets are, without general, and that is and without like a grant that you have to show what you've done and write reports. Like it's a pretty crazy donation, and just so grateful and thankful. And I think that it can really open us up to do some more things. But I also like the word scalable, so we can start small.
Chair, can I offer?
Please.
I wanted to let you have your say before I went back to Vice Chair Shields. So what I would say in response to Vice Chair Shields is my thinking is actually a lot aligned with yours in terms of the amount that we take on and what we're able to do in kind with a donation of this sort. And so that's something that I think we should be very eyes wide open because what I don't want to do is commit ourselves to a lot of resource that we can't sustain or takes us off of our core function and redirects our focus. And so our focus is here, and everybody has a fresh copy of the new plan here. And so what will be important for me is a few things. Number one, that it's tightly aligned with what we've established here and isn't just something new and shiny and Christmas tree and, you know, we're working on that now and not this. And so I think that there is a heavy degree of alignment, and we need to be intentional about that. The other thing is I don't think we need to rush in to whatever we're doing with this. I don't know that there's a time parameter around that. What I do understand from talking with Superintendent Stewart from Gladstone is the Hetherington Foundation, as he explained it to me and as I understood it, I'm not speaking for them, likes to see what you would do with an initial donation, and then we'll use those results to see how they might fund ongoing or further. And so I think thoughtful planning around the resource will be important for us. And I think that you illuminate a good point as far as what was put into this board note was the an adaptation of the original proposal that was given to the Hetherington Foundation for millions of dollars. What we didn't do from there was then turnkey that initial proposal and then tune it down to the amount, just because of time from receiving to accepting. We want to accept and acknowledge, or we want to recommend that the board accept and that we acknowledge the donation, and then allow ourselves to then scale appropriately to the amount, and then revise the time frames within what we have here and what that might look like. So what you see in the board note was really a fully funded plan. And so then we kind of have to double back and say, okay, if this is the amount that we have, what can we do with that? And how do we kind of sustain that and build that out? So I don't know if that helps.
It does. I think the word scalable has got to be there in recognition of too old. And then if we are, and if we're given time, as you say, to then look at what's scalable so that we can present that to the foundation. Right? It's like, all right, we put in the cornerstone, or we laid a foundation that we with additional funds would just really set this apart for a district like ours, so that they have something to celebrate, because frankly, foundations like something to celebrate too. So if we're thoughtful in that way, then that feels good, right? But it's a cornerstone or a foundation, not a project for the full bill, because we have yet to figure out how the funds are coming to full bill.
Yep.
Cautionary tale. I've lived through way too many negative deficit budget environments and layoffs and other things that have happened in these school districts here in Oregon and here in Centennial. These bud staffs had to get back. Oh, I get all freaky about that history. It's none of our making. So we're not adequately funded. So, but we are going to have to live with the needs that they are creating. So, and
Thank you. So we have this in front of us. I would love to hear if there is a motion. Anyone?
Motion to accept the grant or the gift from the Hetherington Foundation.
second.
It has been moved and seconded that we accept the donation from the Hetherington Foundation. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 The ayes have it. We have accepted the donation. Thank you.
Can we do a woohoo? This was our biggest gift. I didn't know that. Woo! We've gotten big grants, but if this is our biggest donation, that's exciting.
It's huge. Thank you.
Maybe Nancy thought you better come in as a second. On that, it's like, oh.
Wow.
I mean, I know
It directly ties to our roadmap for success.
Yeah.
as long as
It does directly tie.
The need's not going anywhere.
no, and the scalable piece of it makes me feel so much better.
Okay. Moving on, we've got a policy, first read of AC non-discrimination with Superintendent Owens.
Great, and this is the first of many policies that you'll be seeing upcoming. We got a fresh policy batch recently. So what you'll see here is policy AC, non-discrimination. There's very little change. What you'll see is the portion that is highlighted in gray, and it involves the designation of a civil rights coordinator for the school district. And so the civil rights coordinator for our school district has been designated. It is Director of Student Services Denise Wright and Assistant Superintendent Dr. Katsuda, who also are our Title IX coordinators for the district as well. And so to us, it makes sense that those responsibilities live in a similar location. You'll see the choice making that OSB offers there is the board designating versus the board directing me to designate. And so my recommendation is that you authorize me to make those designations. And they aren't listed in the policy, but they'll be posted online and in other required locations where we need to post our civil rights coordinator. So with that, I recommend the board accept the revisions to policy AC non-discrimination and offer to you as a first read with option to adopt.
I would move to accept the policy as presented.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept this policy. Is there any need for discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Take it away with the next one.
Great. So the next what you'll see, if I'm reading correctly, is policy BBF, board member standards of conduct. What you'll see is some wording changes that the board will want to review and consider. The big element that is a change from previous policy is that and you'll see this not only in the policy here, but the next one as well. And then also Director Wright has a policy that correlates with this one as well, is board member as mandatory reporter of child abuse. And it helps clarify the role of board member as somebody who is a mandatory reporter. So with that, I recommend that the board review and consider policy BBF, board member standards of conduct.
How do I know as a board member what is my responsibility as a mandatory reporter of child abuse?
I thought you might ask that question.
Funny
and
how those things happen.
Yeah. So what we have researched on that is, and this was our initial thought, and I had Executive Assistant Missy Grindle look into this with OSBA, is that our PACE liability insurer provides us with modules that we provide to our staff, and they are called Safe Schools, and I think that others involved in education are familiar with Safe Schools as well. And those are some online modules that provide a video tutorial and then some questions that you respond to see that you've got the material. And so what we would do is we would load our board members into the system as if they were staff and assign them the modules that pertain to the requirements of the policy, and then have the board members do that training annually along with our staff specific to mandatory reporting.
Can I have a follow-up question?
Please.
If already participating in that training in another capacity, do you need to participate in it twice?
I think that the Safe Schools offers a certificate when you complete a module.
Sure do.
And so then you could submit your certificate of completion to Executive Assistant Grindle, and maybe that would suffice as your satisfying of that requirement.
Here, here.
Or you could do it twice if you wanted.
Tempting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, does that require an AR? Is the policy enough to say to you, as board members, you're gonna make it available to us, get that, and I have to go through the training as well, so that's good to know, I can just submit my certificate. But anyway, for those of us who don't participate in this type of a thing, ARs, administrative regs, are the ways things get done. Did they propose an AR?
I was just looking as you were
Lord.
asking, and I don't see it, and yeah, we're double checking, but that.
It'd be in the next one.
It just seems like an AR would be appropriate to be able to describe to a person where they're gonna get this training and
So-
that it would be expected.
It does look like number 5. Is that different? AR, reporting of suspected abuse of a child, reporting requirements?
Where are you reading? I'm sorry.
Number 5, under new business?
Oh,
Down here.
Down here, sorry.
Yeah.
Would that be there, is Director Wright is over there and she's the one that gets, all I'm saying is I'm not opposed to approving this policy, and I think we should, but I'm just saying how, and having the explanation about safe training, wonderful, but how do you affect it?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and it may be worth, what you may consider as a board is qualifying this as a first read and having us clarify with OSBA, because I see the only mechanic in what you're describing being the accessing of the training. And so it'd be interesting to see if that can be simply layered into the policy, or if we would need a separate AR for that. That's something we could potentially research if the board felt more comfortable with that.
I just think that, again, this illustrates that they haven't thought through what the practical application of the requirement is. We get oftentimes told in our policies and revisions what we should be doing, and yet not the roadmap to make sure that we're complying appropriately.
Well, another policy that's similar is the other, I don't remember the one, but the one that requires board members to have annual ethics training.
Exactly.
And then there was no ethics training that was developed, and so OSBA recommended that we hold off on accepting the policy until that was available, and we're still waiting, so.
We're still waiting.
Yeah, to your point.
The other is that in the footnote, it's AC-AR versus the code BBF. So why they have different codes, because I know this comes to us from them, footer differences. Missy, that might be just something to look into.
Other thoughts or questions? Would we like to have a motion, or would we? Let's go
wonder-
around the room and see if we want.
I was just wondering if we can approve the policy with the follow-up that we're being asked for about the training, because mandatory reporting is a thing. You can figure it, there's information out there if people have any questions, and I'm sure the administration would be happy if any of us individually had any instances where we had any questions and what our responsibilities are. So it seems like we could pass the policy and follow up with the training.
And I also am noting in like a following policy, there is a footnote with a link to Oregon DHS and a phone number and all of those things laid out in reporting of suspected abuse of child reporting requirements. It's laid out in that policy, so I don't feel uncomfortable accepting the policy with just that caveat that maybe we place the same footnote in so people know where to go for things. Because it's here in a following one, just not in the one they're telling us we have to do. So if we add how to report abuse or neglect link right here that's in JHFEGBNAB, it could meet the requirements that we're asking for.
As long as you define what it is.
Yeah, well, and it says, the link here will take you to, that's where we go to get that information.
How many times have you read all these policies and you're responsible for everything we're responsible for? That's my concern.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I don't think it's going to keep us from accepting this policy.
No, I don't think it is. No, I agree with Director Lynn that we can go ahead and accept it, but I do not like it when we are given policies that we're supposed to be following and then not giving the appropriate tools to do it. That's not thinking through what they're laying on us. You're an educator and you've been doing this for years. I'm an educator and I've been doing it for years. But we have many, many board members who come and go who are not educators and never had this kind of background, wouldn't be able to identify it. I've been actually, charged with a violation that I didn't even know I did because I didn't know that I was responsible for something.
I don't think
Okay?
your umbrage is with us or the policy. I think you're frustrated with
OSBA's
them.
lack
So,
of doing it.
But I feel like we could still move forward with these, noting that they need to be improved or adding things in there.
Adding
but
things in there.
It's starting to come across, and I don't think you're meaning that you're frustrated with this and us and the policies, and I don't think you are. I think you're frustrated with where they're coming from.
And the people who manage.
And luckily, we are a very intelligent board and can take what they give us and say, we actually want this, this, and this. So, having said that,
Go forth and make it
shall we make a motion? I'm open.
I don't think any of us know how to phrase it.
Motion to approve policy BBF.
Second.
With the qualification
With-
that we will add.
Wait. Say move to amend, because if I have to, but just keep adding the words.
Motion to approve policy BBF with the additions and processes involved in reporting.
Now you can second. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 I don't know if that was exactly. I mean, is that? Wait. Sorry. Question. There's a lot of perplexed faces. Mine being one of them. Do we need to be specific and say with the addition of where to locate information, how to be trained, and how to report added to the policy? Like, isn't that what we want?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Duly, is
Can-
it duly noted by our administrative assistant?
Missy, did you duly note that we would like it to be where to locate, what the expectations are, and how to be trained added to the policy that we just approved?
Yes.
Thank you so very much.
And thank you for the clarification.
Okay.
Appreciate your point of clarification. All right, BBFC. Ditto? Superintendent Allen? Sorry.
This looks like a newly proposed policy, BBFC, and it also talks about reporting suspected child abuse. It provides further definition of what that mandatory reporter responsibility.
But could you explain, though, the last sentence in the board note before we proceed with that? It is recommended to the board of directors approves the adoption of these changes to this newly proposed optional policy. So it's new, but we have changes to a new policy?
Mine says it is recommended that the Board of Directors of Centennial School District approves the adoption.
Wow, the wrong.
Yeah, that, it should read, approves this newly proposed optional policy, and you should not see
Gotcha, okay.
the portion that says the changes.
Okay. I just was unclear.
Yeah.
It's been my to be unclear.
Oh,
So-
and look, right in here, a district shall provide information and training
Yeah.
each school year to district employees on the
You're not an employee.
prevention, right. But,
So it should read, it is recommended the Board of Directors of the Centennial School District approves this newly proposed optional policy.
Okay, thank you, that helps.
any discussion?
I move we adopt the policy, BBFC.
Seconded.
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Me,
Okay.
I object because there's nothing about training or anything else in there. Am I reading the wrong place?
I'm,
BBSC.
I'm just in the wrong, I apologize if I'm just doing BBFC, 3 paragraphs, reporting the suspected abuse of child. The board member is a mandatory reporter, right? That's how it starts? And and the second paragraph, board member making a report of this is required by OS report, yeah, that, and a report must contain, right? Wouldn't this be the place where?
keep going down.
Go through that?
On the next page, the district shall provide information and training each school year. Even though we're not district employees, I wonder if we want, am I on the different?
Yeah, that's not on my line, that's why I think I'm confused, is we may be talking about.
It's probably in the.
I think you're discussing.
Oh,
two.
I jumped down too
You're
far.
discussing two.
I apologize. Yep.
But you may have the answer as to why this one, if it's answered someplace else, but we can't be answering as employees. We can answer as BBFC because this does appear to be specific to board members.
Right. And then the footnotes, again,
Have
add
this-
us,
have
here's
the
how to
things.
report, here's where the numbers are, here's where all that is. And then the following one that we're gonna do talks about mandating the training, which we should wait to discuss until we get there.
Sorry. Yes.
Well, that's why I objected, because there's nothing in the proposal for us as board members. We just approved a policy that didn't say anything but this, the one footnote in the policy that is us, and we didn't reference.
But it says a board member at the top.
Yeah, is a mandatory reporter. But
Yes.
again, I would argue that the things that you put in, that, to articulate in the other policy, which is that there will be training, that will be available, et cetera, would apply just to this as well, and we did not include that.
Would your comfort level be higher if we were to request the same footnotes that were noted by Missy previously to be added into this policy that we just approved BBFC.
Yes.
Missy?
I would also state that it says reporting a suspected child abuse of a child, and then it says board members, so the title might be even clearer. It's a BB, right, which is a board member thing, but just parenthetical, board member. I want our board members to be noting, the things that we're required to do, and with those kind of
That will help.
footnotes,
Yeah.
that would help.
Okay.
So, I don't know what to do with the
Let's-
ones that you've already approved.
Let's go ahead and, alter.
So there's been a motion and a second, so you can amend the motion if
Okay.
you'd like to do that, because there hasn't been a vote yet.
Great.
Well, we did vote, because I vote, we voted.
Oh, I'm sorry, there was a vote, you're right.
Yes.
And
That's my
I was
apologies.
the one that objected.
So you can go ahead and make a motion to change what passed,
Okay.
if you'd like to.
I make a motion that we go back to BBFC approval and add the footnotes noted in the previous policy, BBF, and ask that those be added to BBFC. Please, somebody second that.
Second.
Thank you.
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I was just sitting there watching for a second. I was like, oh wait, I gotta say
Okay, it's
something.
like the stress of it is happening, you guys. We gotta, whew, okay.
It's been moved and seconded and approved. Excellent. Let's go on to number 5.
All right, Director Wright, your turn.
This is the one I wanted to read.
There we go. Hello again, board directors. All right. And I think there's some information in this policy that does address you all, because you do count as agents of the district. So I am here to present the first read of policy JHFE, JBNAB, and the AR, which is reporting of suspected abuse of a child reporting requirements. So the Department of Human Services has reports the purpose. There was a Senate bill that came out in 2023, and it was to align the state law with the agency's current processing of receiving child abuse reporting through a centralized child abuse reporting system, which that has been established for several years. They just finally are updating the policy around that. And the report must still be submitted to DHS as directed or by law enforcement agency. And it is recommended that this policy is approved by the school board. Happy to answer any questions about the policy or the AR.
Are there any questions at this time?
What did you say about us being agency?
So if you look at page 3-4 in the policy, the third paragraph outlines all the things that we will do as a district around training, and then at the next piece where it says the district shall provide to a district employee at the time of hire a contract, an agent, or a volunteer. I'm wondering, as school board members, if under the agent, if that might qualify for you all also in the requirements given that they've placed in the other policy.
Could you explain, I know you have to be, they're thinking, but why not have that same thing in this policy? It says any district employee who has a reasonable, could it be any district employee and make that list that you just said? It would clarify my role, it would clarify anybody else's role that we would be contracting with, et cetera, et cetera. It's much like we add parent and guardian, this would be a way of just elongating it so that it's clear that anybody that comes in contact with children in this district are responsible.
And it's very clear in this policy what we need to do around our annual training requirements. Great.
I would rather see that employees expanded, the words, every page you were on, and Director Wright can help us with that so that it's clear that it's all of us who come in contact with students are responsible, just not employees.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
Maybe I'm in the wrong area, but on that 1, 2, and 3 on page 3-4. District employees, contractors, and agents. When they attempt to obtain a new job as provided a district employee, contractor, or agent, are those enough of a descriptor, or do you, because then it also says in volunteers down here, are you wanting to add and board members in there, or are we falling, I feel like we fall into a district employee, contractor, or agent, or volunteer.
Yeah, I guess my challenge has always been, when you started with policy, it's kind of like having the topic paragraphs in these long policies. It falls short when it just talks about employee in that very first or third paragraph or whatever.
So you're wanting to take that verbiage and put it in the first line, any district employee, agent, contractor, or volunteer. You're wanting to take that language from what I just read on 3-4, put it in 1-4 at the very beginning, so it's clear from the onset?
From the onset,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
1-4 of the previous policy that was being discussed.
This page, the very first
Gotcha.
page of the policy you're presenting to us now, where it says any district employee, insert
Agent.
contractors, agents, and volunteers. If that verbiage is there, I feel like the pulse of the room would be the comfort levels ticked up and accepting this policy and approving it.
That would be true for me.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
I'd love to hear a motion then.
I make a motion that we approve JHFE/GBNAB with the addition of the language contractors, agents, and volunteers added to the first paragraph of the policy.
Second?
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Aye. The ayes have it.
Somebody follow through with those and make sure that agents include board members, just to be clear.
I'm feeling very, very good about my motion skills. at this
I'm-
point in
yes.
time. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Let's do another one.
Here we go.
Let's talk about restraint and seclusion.
Here we go. So we have the first read of policy JGAB and the AR, the use of restraint and seclusion. As you can see from the board note, there are several additions that have been added to this policy, specifically pieces that have been added due to new Senate bills and updated Oregon rules is that the addition of an immediate notice to parents or guardians if there is an existing record that could be a video or audio of an incident where there is a restraint or seclusion. And then that record has to be reviewed when we have a debriefing meeting. The debriefing meeting has been a requirement of restraint and seclusions for many, many years. So now at this point, if there is a recording, that does have to be shared as a part of that meeting. It also provides additional information around how we keep those records and how long we have to retain them. We do suggest that it is recommended that the board adopt this policy. Happy to answer any questions about the policy or the AR.
Are there any questions at this time?
Do you feel like it does what we need? Do you feel that this covers everything that we need, or anything Centennial specific that's not there?
I do. I think it's been very thorough, and it's gone through a couple iterations. So we kept this one from coming forward a few months ago because we knew some other updates were coming, so.
Thank you.
I make a motion, having a good time, that we approve JGAB and JGABAR as presented.
Second?
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Thank you
The
very
ayes
much.
have it.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your diligence when it comes to the policies. Next up, under future agenda items, I wanted to talk a little bit about the superintendent evaluation timeline. And I'm very quickly pulling my notes up right here. Y'all saw the email that you have until June 13th to complete. It's really, so the form is pretty easy. It's laid out. It kind of walks you through all of the different segments of the superintendent's work plan. And then really just doing your due diligence and putting down not just a number, but some of your specific reasons will be super helpful. And it needs to be in by the 13th so that I have the opportunity to compile all of that data and bring a narrative to our meeting on the 20th.
Just that, and on the 20th is a Thursday, not a Wednesday, because of graduation, and we need to have a forum to make that happen.
It's the following week.
It's on the Thursday because of Juneteenth on the 9th.
Right.
Oh, yes, that's why
Right.
it's, yeah.
And so we just gotta make sure enough people are there to make it work.
Yes.
Because it is an odd, since we had to move it from a Wednesday.
It
it's
is.
So used, like horse to barn.
So for those of you who know that you will not be here on the 20th, I know that you guys have both already talked to me. I think that just making sure that
Should be.
your voice is heard in how you're responding will be really important, since you won't be able to be in the room as we're talking through it.
I will attempt to do it via Zoom, but depending on where we're traveling on our road trip at that point in time, I might not have service.
I appreciate the effort that everyone makes to attend these meetings. And as myself, I have learned in the last couple of weeks, sometimes you just have to prioritize other things. So, but it is very important that we get everybody's input to give to our wonderful superintendent so that he can continue to grow. Great.
Did we clarify? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I should have some announcements if we're done.
Did we clarify if we're meeting in person or virtual? I might have just spaced on that.
Oh, we did not clarify. I think that I would recommend that we do an in-person meeting for that, the one on the 20th, just because of the evaluation and the nature of having that conversation in person, I think is yeah, feels better. And so I will make that recommendation. And then, of course, if folks can't come in, people can still Zoom in, but the majority of us will try to be here. Is that okay for the district too? Yeah.
We'll make it work.
Thank you.
Will it be the only agenda item?
It's that
the
and
budget?
the adoption of budget.
Oh, the budget, yes.
Mhm.
Oh.
Let's do that.
I was waiting for an appropriate moment.
Just say, oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're saved
Another
the
reason you may want to
two
consider
most important
attending
things for last.
is because we can't spend
Okay.
any money in July if we don't have a budget. Just a
Yeah.
possible reason to attend.
Yeah,
Well-
we may have the OSCA
Yes.
contract for
Ratification.
Those seem like 3.
Yeah. Cool. Yes.
I have a question / request.
So I can, like,
Not that I'd
leverage some
love
things?
More data and more papers to fill out, but I would really like us to look at doing a board self-evaluation, whether it's this year or not. I started talking to Superintendent Ohms about that a little bit. I think that you can always grow and do better in whatever capacity you are serving, and it feels wrong to offer a lot of direction and feedback and not do some on ourselves. So I would like to find a format that is comfortable for people to do and share, whether it's paper or a discussion, but I do think it's important so that the board can stay healthy and functioning.
Yeah.
And continually look to bettering the community that we serve and also ourselves. So I'd like to propose that. Whether it's for this year or not, I just think it's important that we look at.
Are you mentioning a self-evaluation or from district personnel feedback to us?
Ideally, I think it would be lovely to have district personnel and the people that we serve give us feedback as well. But I also think it is vital that we self-reflect on how we function through the year, where we can grow,
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. I know that this year we've kind of been scaling up the superintendent evaluation. So last year we started with a new process. This year we're adding feedback from the cabinet. Next year I'm hoping to add feedback from the principals as well to continue to get more and more feedback on the superintendent. I do really like your idea. The way I could see that potentially functioning is potential having some reflection questions that you suggested that everybody also takes time to write, and maybe the chair or next year's chair or whatever would have the opportunity to review those and have that discussion with the individuals and even see if there's goals that they want to set for the coming year in their board work.
I just think it's unrealistic to ask students and teachers and administrators and directors to set goals for improvement.
Yeah.
Superintendents to set goals for improvement and not ask your school board to.
Yeah. As there are a lot of things competing for attention, I would ask that continue to remind us and be a champion for this so that, if it doesn't happen for this year, when we start talking about the evaluation cycle for next year, which we do in like March, let's bring that into the conversation then, because I think that will also help us get there. Love it.
New business items?
Yep. Yeah. Director Lynn.
Sure. I just had a little list. Recently, the community got $10,000 for resiliency networking, and thankfully, we've had some great participation from the district. And we're looking at a state community resiliency grant that might get us an emergency cash at one place as the bus, I believe, the bus terminal, in cooperation with a couple other, hopefully, emergency caches in the neighborhood. We just got $10,000 for a free tree giveaway. So if you know anybody in Portland who wants some free trees, the neighborhood association will be working with that all summer long.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
What if you are in the Centennial neighborhood but you live in Gresham? Do you qualify for a free tree?
I can try to be flexible. I'll see how flexible Portland Parks and Recreation
Not that
is.
I need a tree, but I'm just thinking that there's lots of our community.
And then we have some events tomorrow, actually, 6 p.m. The Neighborhood Association Centennial will be doing a walking meeting in cooperation with Oregon Walks, and we'll be starting at Park Lane Reformed Church next to Park Lane Elementary at 6 p.m. And then Saturday, we're having the Centennial Community Day at Leach Botanical Gardens, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So if you show up, just say you're a friend of Centennial and you'll get in free. And then I just wanted to remind everybody about the concert in the park at Verdell Rutherford Park, August 3rd. The performer is Barrio Mestizo, doing various music. So, thank you.
Thank you. Did you see that Sheila E. is coming to Ventura Park?
Food for Families fundraiser event was awesome. And
Awesome.
Summit Women's BT Dubs. So that's great. Yeah, Char was really pleased. They raised a good amount.
That's fantastic. Did you?
I just want to put it on Director Sutherton's radar, possibly, for a topic. The Classroom Improvement Fund. I know that, I just don't know what your process is for continuing update. There's so many needs, but how do you continue to evaluate that? Some things are forced upon us, floods. But if you have a flood and it's improved all these other places, how do you then that list, how do you do it? Because, we hear about things, and I don't know where to tell somebody to look or who to contact. And we can put it on their future agenda item, just to put as an update for us, because if somebody comes to us and says, I was in that classroom and it was awful and blah, blah, I could say, that's what I need.
Yeah, I think the other thing would be if I can like add on to that question, I remember hearing that there was going to be like an application process that teachers could apply for things, and so like where is that as far as like maybe that's because everybody needs paint right now, we can't really go to teachers who are applying for it, or correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so wonderful question. Thank you. Questions. Thank you both. So the facilities director, Jason Lafarge, and I did a complete inventory of all classrooms in the district this past summer, and literally going to every single classroom with a rating criteria and matrix based on what's the rating of the floors, 1 to 5, 1 being bad, 5 being great, ventilation, windows, cabinetry, paint, lighting, ceiling, wall repair, and things like that. And so all those different criteria were measured in every single classroom, and then we aggregated those scores, and we're working from bottom up, right? So we want to go ahead and intervene or assess and improve the classrooms that scored the lowest across the district first, right? Because that's where the need is the highest. While this year, under Superintendent Owen's direction and support and leadership, is knowing that we weren't ready to do improvements because it was a brand new fund that we didn't have funding until July 1. We didn't have improvements planned last summer. So using those funds from this year to bring every classroom up to a common baseline by, patching walls, doing the repairs, painting the ceilings and painting the walls, and bringing every classroom up to a common level of good repair. And simultaneously, we've improved the custodial and the cleaning practices and the maintenance. So we're keeping it clean and in good repair, and then we're going to work from lowest to highest with the Classroom Improvement Fund over the number of years that it will take. The hope is that we are raising the status of every single classroom across the district over time, and when bond funds come along, that's where we could sprint and do a big group of classrooms, right? So, every summer we'll do 5 learning spaces based on the Classroom Improvement Fund, and we know we have 300 learning spaces. So, but that's to say, past practice has kind of been not doing anything until a bond comes along, and we know that doesn't work, right? We know that doesn't serve kids. The analogy would be, not doing any maintenance on your car and only repairing it when it completely breaks down. Like, that just doesn't make sense, right? And so this is the ongoing maintenance and the improvement to the house or to the school, right, to continue the analogy. And then when bond dollars or other capital funds become available, we'll be able to do 10, 15, 20 classrooms and sprint forward, and then we'll, over time get every classroom up to a much higher baseline than it is currently. Does that help answer questions?
Yeah.
In regards to any maintenance issues, though, we absolutely want to hear from staff. So encourage them to put in maintenance requests through the facilities department. We have a new facilities director, Jason Lafarge, who's being incredibly responsive and supportive to all the different requests that come in. We do have 1 million square feet of buildings, and the average age is 60 years old, so the requests are numerous. But we have a great team. We have a great team of maintenance folks and custodial folks that are doing their absolute best to respond and take care of issues in a very timely manner and respond to those concerns. So, yeah.
I just needed to know there was something that came up.
Sure.
And I had no idea about it. So.
Yeah, initially it would be, have you put in a work request? Have you reached out to the facilities director? And then alternatively, I'm always available, right? I'm 100% happy to support. So if you could direct them our way, that'd be great.
Yes, on a night of celebrating and awards, I wanted to congratulate Assistant Principal and Athletic Director Dante Gouch for winning Athletic Director of the Year.
Yeah.
Congratulations to him.
That's fantastic.
Congratulations to your wife.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of good stuff.
Anyone else have anything for the good of the order? We are adjourned, 9:07 p.m.
Recording stopped.